recording. Okay. For today, what do we plan for today? So far, we were building example, or kind of, I was building and explaining it, and we did some in class for mass trainer. And I finished completely code that is storing data on hard drive of the device using SQL database, and SQL database is accessed through ROOM, object-oriented mapping, a relational object-oriented mapping to SQL database to objects of Kotlin. I'm not sure how ROOM stands for, but it sounds like relational mapping, but or maybe object. I don't know. It's probably based on some acronym that contains relational databases and mapping. And I tried to stay with the code that reasonable code that I can use with Firebase, like with cloud storage. So I was doing some revisions. They are not huge, but some revisions to stay compatible with cloud database. Because if we stay with different kind of, if we want to use different kinds of storage, one is SQL database, which is on the hard drive, and cloud database file store, which is not SQL. We may have to do some difficult decisions to keep the same GUI code, because unfortunately, if GUI is planned for Firebase or for ROOM, for SQL, you may end up with different GUI. My goal was to keep layers of the program separated well enough, so we don't have to change GUI when we go to different storage. So definitely, if we address particular storage right away, we may end up with GUI kind of specific to that. And it will be harder to change it later. So I tried to stay generic. Okay, let's have some storage of quizzes and problems and have some reasonable API to access them. And I was progressing through storing this in a SQL database. And I wrote GUI that was functional. You saw that it's working. And I actually accidentally hit an issue that if we code specifically for if we already have a GUI, and we need to design Firebase storage for your GUI, you have limitation of your GUI. Unless you want to rewrite it. Okay? So when you design storage on the cloud, you have to keep in mind of your GUI that you already have. Unfortunately, if you don't, there is no other way. You have to keep it in mind or rewrite your GUI. So I decided to keep the GUI code without rewriting it, because it will be a strange idea if I have two GUIs for two different storage. So I made decision to match storage on Firebase to existing GUI code. Let me tell you what I mean. In the version that we have in Mass Trainer today, it is not Firebase version, it is SQL version. This is Firebase example. This version is using tables, SQL tables, to store data about quiz entries and a table for problems. And we have one-to-many relationship between quizzes and problems. One quiz can have several problems, and problem is associated only with one quiz. And it's a reasonable relationship because the problem itself stores user answer in this case. So answering problem in one quiz should not automatically answer even the same problem in another quiz. So for this reason, it can be only one-to-many, not many-to-many. When you put data not in table, but in trees, we can imagine that user has quizzes. So it has a branch from root of user, you will have branches to quizzes. And every quiz will have branches to problems. So can you imagine that? Or you need to draw. Probably you can imagine it, right? User can have quizzes, right? So you have from user location, you have branches to quizzes. And quizzes can have problems. You have branches to problems. So if we store data this way, literally as a tree, because NoSQL database allows you to do it as a tree. It doesn't have to be tables. Actually, you cannot have tables. You have some kind of trees anyway. You cannot easily filter through quizzes through problems, like get problem by ID. Because in order to get problem, you have to know not just problem ID, you also quiz ID. And it makes GUI different. At least navigation in GUI different. So I decided to find middle point to keep GUI and have something reasonable. So let me show what I have. I will show what kind of storage. You're already familiar with SQL, and I will show what kind of storage is for mass trainer when it is stored as a tree. Data is stored as a tree. So I have users, and currently it's only one user here. It's ID of the user. So it's a tree starting here, but location. This is collection. It doesn't have to start from users. I can, besides users, have something else and something else. So I have could have multiple trees. But in this case, it's starting from users. And this is just one user. And I see users have problems and quizzes. So it is flattened. It's not like quiz has problems. These are quizzes. Quiz does not have problems. Problems are associated with quizzes by foreign key. Do you see what I mean? You have a quizzes, and currently I have quiz number, title, quiz ID. But I'm not going into depths out of quizzes into list of problems. Okay? Because if I do, will not be able to retrieve easily problem by ID. I will have to know quiz ID to travel the tree. I do have problems here. And when I click problem, you see it has storage like a user answer, correct answer, problem number, text, user answer 31, and result. That is the right answer. And link back to quiz. It is still one-to-many relationship, but it is coded in a tree such way that we can get quiz by ID to match existing GUI. And also it gives easy access to relatively easy access to problems itself, so we can build statistics per user this way in the program. So we don't have to jump between quizzes in order to collect data in the program. So it is additional benefit to build statistics per user across quizzes. If problem is displaying statistics to user according like progress, you did these problems, you saw this number of answers, right or wrong. Why is this? Why does it refer to user ID? Which is really looks strange, but apparently it is also useful. It is also useful if we collect data across users through problems. So we can filter problems out and across users, but and across quizzes, and associated in groups by user ID. So it is to collect statistics. Otherwise, this user ID is not necessary. It is only for collecting statistics, analytics, and so on. So this design decision is a kind of based on two motivations: collecting statistics per user, collecting statistics across users, and also keeping most of the GUI intact. So it was quite difficult task to decide how to do it, and Grok helped me. Again, artificial intelligence somewhat helped me. I talked a lot to it, hours and hours, and eventually we figure it out what is the best. And you don't have to agree with what it tells you. You say, no, I want this way, and it will reply you. Is it better or worse? And eventually, so it has to be a collective decision, because unfortunately, what artificial intelligence suggests is simple path that is kind of maybe apparent to it, but it's not really working. So our original suggestion was to keep quizzes keep problems per quiz as a tree. So you have let me show. You have users, and you see collection of problems and quizzes per user. So original suggestion was to keep problems within quizzes. So you have a quiz and collection of problems in the quiz, which kind of logical from common sense. You have, why not, right? Why do you have a collection of problems and quizzes separate per user? Why don't you associate explicitly problems of quiz with each quiz? So when you click on quizzes, you will see collection of problems here, not per user. So this goes here. This was the first suggestion, but first of all, it doesn't work for existing GUI. You have to rewrite it, and I didn't want it. Second, collecting statistics across different quizzes becomes really a complicated task. Not really complicated, but more complicated than it is now. So bottom line, artificial intelligence helps, but it's not a one-step solution. It helps you to make decisions and according to your current situation. Okay. So learn how to play with it. There are many engines. Do not ask you to don't ask it to do everything for you. It gives you lots of suggestions. Select that makes sense to you. Agree or do not agree. Ask other things. Ask to revise and so on. It helps a lot. But if you keep agreeing, it will with everything you will end up with something totally senseless. And this is my opinion. What do I have here also? I also have quiz count and quiz number count here. And I don't have this in the code written for SQL. Unfortunately, when it is on in this coding structure, data structure, you will have to add, you may have to add or remove some data when you move it there. Because surprisingly, generating quiz number to display is surprisingly not as trivial as for SQL database. So I realized that we need to keep counter for it. And it is related to the issue that a user may access the data from two different devices to avoid corruption. If data is stored on your device, you have to deal with one kind of person, kind of entity accessing the data. It's absolutely unlikely event that user opens two devices and try to do the same quiz on two devices at the same time. But let's make a code that is working even for that situation. If user open two different devices for the same account, like logins into the same account, and try to do quizzes at the same time, like deleting quizzes and creating quizzes, for example, from two devices. It's unlikely scenario, but it may happen. So let's do not corrupt the data this way. And the way to avoid it, I figured it out, is to only, I can avoid it if I keep not just quiz count, I will also need to keep quiz number count. It is number that appears on the screen, quiz number 2, quiz number 3, this kind of thing. Because quiz count, it is how many of them. But quiz number count, it is a number on the screen next to name of the quiz, quiz 2, for example. And it is necessary to make data uncorruptible, even if user opens two devices and try to delete and create quizzes at the same time. So storing data on cloud, bottom line, storing data on cloud involves some decisions that, solving some problems that do not exist if you store data locally on the device. Speaking about your project, capstone project, using cloud storage or some kind of cloud involvement with it is a requirement for your capstone in the end. So give yourself plenty of coding time and do some background study, because transferring your local coding skills on the device to cloud data storage involves issues that you don't have to encounter if you store it on the device. Okay? And it's also learning time. So it was my motivation for having some cloud experience in this course, because it is last course in Android programming at all in your program using Kotlin. You can also write Android programs using Flutter. You can use this React Native, for example, right? Other options. But using Kotlin native program, it is last course ever in your program. So we need to have some cloud experience, and this is why I'm including this in reasonable extensive way first time now, because previously, like 1 year ago, I used example from Marina Coelho. She wrote a to-do list, I believe. Yes, she wrote to-do list examples that we will use probably next week. Unfortunately, that list does not have, it is only one list. There is no relationship at all, like multiple lists with multiple items in it. So for your capstone, it is quite huge jump between having only one list and nothing else, to having complicated data. So I tried to, with this example of multiple quizzes with multiple problems, I tried to bridge this gap between simple examples that have only one list to examples that have some kind of not trivial data, when we have items that contain some other items. So we have users, each user have quizzes, and quizzes related to problems. So this is not, it's not for one user, obviously, right? Because it is for one application that now has to deal with multiple users. If your application is storing data on the device, you don't have to deal with multiple users at all. So you have complexity of dealing with multiple users, and also you have a complexity with dealing with the same user accessing data from different devices. So this code exists in some version. I will revise it by the time when I will explain it. But it is for the future. It is for next week or week after. For today, we will quickly look at SQL GUI code that is using SQL. I already explained SQL part as the previous lesson, so we can just, and also it is SQL, not very different. So most of the GUI is the same, except if you store data on cloud, you do have to deal with some kind of login. And login involves some GUI supporting login issue. Because you cannot use GUI without login in the place where you need login. Right? You have to write login logic, right? It's unavoidable. So we cannot use exactly the same GUI. It has to be some issue with creating login screens and also adding some logic for login. It brings one more discussion topic, unfortunately. But before we jump into the discussion topic, let's open the code that I want to go through. Let's split this lesson into two parts. First part will be kind of discussion like that, and going through code that has GUI and SQL. After this, we'll have break, and after this, we'll have a code which Firebase, but not this example, but simpler one. Is it okay? So for now, we saw this code, how it is on Firebase, and I will keep that, okay? This is working, but I want to revise it. Working to some degree, but I want to revise this code before I explain it. And anyway, it is several steps of complexity. Let's put it for next week or week after. For current version, let's look when data in the SQL database, and this is how we left it last time. But I slightly revised that code, but that revision should not break the logic of your understanding, because it is just purely mechanical differences. It's not any algorithmic differences, okay? So let's clone this project. Let's clone it from scratch. Mass trainer, and notes it is for Firebase example. Okay, let's reclone it. You already have it, but I changed it so much in detail, so it's better to clone it again in just different folder. So I will delete this two. Move to trash. And I will clone it here into section. I also have a folder for preparation. Okay. By the way, Android Studio just got new version. It's better to upgrade, but don't do it in class. Just do it after. Okay. Our current version, it is Otter, but they got additional release, Otter. This is new number. Okay. So let's clone it. I wanted to put in not in this folder. I want to put it in section folder. This. Mouse train server. Command V. Command C. Command V. Clone. A default branch is main, but we're not going into main branch because it is old one. For today's lesson, I created separate branch, and let's let it load, and I will tell which one. So let's go here. Let's select branch. Main is quite old. It doesn't have probably even the database. So I created this branch. I would say room only, no Firebase. So it is for today's lesson. A room only, no Firebase. What is the logic? I have code Firebase and room together. This is not working code. It is how I was creating Firebase code by looking at room example. To make sure that it is similar code, so I don't have to explain GUI twice. Okay? This is not working code. But this is where I was working on both scenarios in this project. And after this, I just removed Firebase from this code and left only room in it. So it is easier to see just room. So it is this code made to work by removing Firebase. And I left room only, no Firebase. So let's check out this one. Okay. So it is made maximally compatible to code with Firebase. So I just doing this side by side, keeping the most of the stuff is exactly the same, and just creating new branch and deleted Firebase code from it. Okay. So it is minor variation from previous one, and changes are small, depending just to have this exactly the same GUI essentially. Except there is no login logic in that. Okay, so let's see what we have. In Kotlin, in Kotlin Java, I have data section. This is local database that has a data access object, entity object that are matched to tables. So those are essentially table description. You see, table name problems, relationship, define it here. It's one-to-many relationship. We discussed it this last time, right? Between parent and child, and foreign key cascade is used to delete. So when you delete quiz, it will cascade to deleting problems. I cannot do this on Firebase because on Firebase, it will cascade only if problems are children of quizzes, direct children in the tree. So I would have to delete problems by query, by update instruction, by delete instructions. It would be automatic if in the tree problems were children of quizzes. I would delete quiz, it would delete children of that node of the tree. But again, I already discussed that it is a bad decision from multiple points. So I decided to keep problems and quizzes as a separate nodes of separate collections of user. So logic is similar, but data structure in the storage is different. We discussed this at the last lesson, and I didn't change anything in this relationship. They rely to data access objects that contain SQL and this Android build system will implement these functions. What is the parallel logic to storage on cloud? There is no generation code, absolutely, but it helps you to raise the code. Similarly here, when you type SQL, it helps you to do SQL with you. When you create Firebase code, when you create cloud code, you don't have anything like SQL at all. It will be code written in Kotlin, but it does help you with that. Similarly to creating code SQL, it will prompt you to suggestions and you edit it. It will help you with writing Kotlin code for a similar scenario. But you will have to edit it as you go. Because it's not always smart, you have to filter it through your own logic. Because it's mechanical suggestions. So on Firebase, when I was creating code for Firebase, similar to creating SQL code, Android Studio was helping me with SQL. You type it, it will transfer you to suggestions, but you have to edit it because it's mechanical. You have to apply your own common sense. When you create code for Firebase, it will suggest you Kotlin code when you type. But you have to do it editing with understanding of that code. Otherwise, it will end up with nonsense. Okay? Like writing SQL, we can rely on some code generation, but we have to check the logic ourselves to make sure that what it's doing is actually what you want. With Kotlin code generated for accessing cloud database, you also getting help from Android Studio to do it. It is definitely helpful, but you have to check it yourself to make sure that it's made what you need, okay? Because it is quite often doesn't. It just tries to match patterns, and it will end up with patterns that's not actually what you intended, okay? So this is the parallels, okay, between them. Then I have data access objects here. Surprisingly, when it is on cloud, it doesn't make sense to have a different. It's easier actually to have one. If it is a similar pattern, like you store quizzes, you just have one. Okay. In this code, we can just have one DAO and copy-paste this stuff into one DAO, and it will just work. There is no limitation. It is not per table. So DAOs in room code are not per table. We may create it per table like I did, but they're not limited per table. In particular, for example, quiz DAO is definitely not per table because I have a transaction to create a quiz from a list of problems. As you see, it is accessing two tables at the same time. And it is transaction, so it is done atomically. So like behind the back of your program. So it will hide the database from your program, do the transaction, and after this it will show. So your program is not exposed to broken state. And also other programs that talk to database are not exposed to intermediate steps. So it is meaning of the transaction. So when you do transactions, definitely you have to, quite often, you have to deal with multiple tables. So for this reason, you may end up with, for example, doing problem-related stuff in DAO of quiz. So technically, you can just have only one DAO. For simplicity, drop everything there, unless you have something completely separate in logic. So for cloud, the same idea. You may try to have several, but I decided to have one DAO. DAO is a generic name for room, right? Data access object. And in Android for room. But data access object is a pattern, and it is used in different systems. You create an object to access some data. And you just use its common sense in separation of concerns. So it is not a term DAO, data access object, are not specific to Android. It is pattern to access databases. Design guide from Google, like application design guide, I believe. Architecture guide. Architecture guide from Google is using different term. It is using data source. So it is extra layer, kind of combining DAOs into data source. And data sources are used by repositories. Definitely, you don't have to create extra layer between DAO and repositories if your program is reasonably simple, like this. I have DAOs, and after this, I have repository using DAOs. So DAOs are used as data source, essentially. So data access objects are used as data source. And after this, you have repositories. So DAOs, or data access objects, then then repositories, and after this you have a GUI. So it's a multi-layer pattern. So I don't have a data source in between, so I use this as assuming it is data source. In cloud code, there is no such thing. Like you can create data access object, but it's not doesn't make specific sense. So I created class called data source, especially. Okay, so I don't have DAO, I have data source. And instead of entity, because entity it is specific to SQL, you see when you go to entity, say it's entity. Okay, when you go to this file store, these pieces are called documents. You see, add documents. So instead of quiz DAO, I have quiz doc. The quiz DAO. When you have a problem entity, I have problem doc, because it is terminology is, you see, document, right? So it is going by analogy. Instead of quiz entity, I will have in my code, I'll have a problem entity, I'll have a problem doc. Okay. So it's a lot of this is done by analogy, by comparing two cases and doing the conversion of the code. Okay. So this is data specific to the local database. Factory, it is just problem generation, so it is pure math. A remote, it is if data generation is done on remote server, so there is a GUI option in this program to run data, send request to the server and get the data. Obviously, it will work when server is running. If it's not running, it will give a warning and do it locally. So in this case, it will still work even when you select it remote. It will print warning at the bottom of Android Studio, but it will not even tell the user that it's local. Perhaps we should, but it's not perfect. Okay. So it is what is remote? It's getting repositories. There are tons of repositories for different tasks. This is not repository. It's a file used by repository to convert data. In this case, it is, you see, converting entity to domain. Domain, it is stuff I have in domain. You see, algebra operation, problem operation. This is what is domain? A domain, it is description of user, say, description, it is business logic, essentially. A model, it is objects. Model, it's an object involved in business logic. You don't have to call it model, but it is kind of data carrying classes. A repository, having repositories in domain, it is a little say not questionable, but it's less peculiar. It's somewhat peculiar, this choice, but it's still okay because Google Guide for Android architecture says you can have business logic in repositories. Okay, it's no big deal. So a business logic, it is not just model, it's also repositories. I do not have a specific case. I do not have a use cases in this case, in this place. I did have a version of it with use case in the domain, but I removed this because it's just extra complexity. I decided not to. So technically, in domain, you can have objects that carry data. Let's call it model. You can have use cases that talks to repositories directly. You can have just repositories without use cases. If problem is reasonably simple, maybe you don't need use cases. So use cases, it's extra layers where it is necessary between repositories and UI. So model, it is data carrying classes or description, something specific, use it in data carrying classes. For example, difficulty class, right, which will be range of difficulty, easy, difficult, easy, intermediate, or so on, right? Enumeration type or answer status. This is enumeration type, so it is part of my domain. See, not answer it, right answer. Okay, so it's not specifically data carrying, but it is use it in data carrying classes, right? So this will be model. Objects that carry data and some objects. Let's synchronize it because I switched libraries. So, okay. And some perhaps functionality, in this case, get status, comparing user answer to a correct answer, and it is returning answer status. Okay. So I decided to have interfaces, and what I put in the repository of a domain, it is access to data necessary for GUI. I have tons of repositories above, you see? But I have only 2 here. Because remember that architecture guide from Google for Android applications that says we can have multiple layers of repositories when we really need it. So this is what I have. I have multiple layers of repositories, like 3, okay? But only top layer is accessed by a GUI. Other repositories are used by repositories above. It is to make logic not more complicated, actually simpler, to separate concerns. So you have repositories per task. Repository to create a problem, repository to store user settings, a repository to, say, store data in the database, local database, and so on. And this is abstraction layer. It is UI, not UI. It is interface of what user interface needs. Okay, it is interface to logic below user interface. Okay, this piece, quiz repository. See what it says? Get flow of list of quizzes. It doesn't say from where. Okay? Get it. And if you get it, your GUI will work. Okay? Say, get previous problem, and this is for this problem. Okay? It is for this problem because you need to resolve logic. What is the previous problem in the quiz? Okay. This problem has problem ID, and it's also has quiz ID. So it needs to go to quiz and figure out what is the next problem in that quiz. Okay. And again, it doesn't tell you how it's done below. Okay? But if the layers below can figure it out, your GUI will work. Okay? So what I have here is descriptions of necessary functions required by GUI. Everything else is hidden. Okay? So this is definition of my GUI needs. Definitions of functionality of the needs of the GUI. How it is achieving it, it's different issue, right? And this is done explicitly across storage. Okay, it is exactly the same for this GUI, regardless where you store. Okay, so this is to make a data access layer separate from UI, because UI talks only through these interfaces, and these objects are used in interfaces. For example, flow of user preferences, and I have object of user preferences. You see? So if we look at the problem from GUI point of view, this is description of all layers below GUI for the GUI. Okay. So it is interface exposed to GUI to hide extra complexity, unnecessary complexity below. So it is separation of concerns. It's also layered organization of it. In domain, it is typically business logic. And again, we can create use cases classes, but I think it is just already a lot of complexity without them. Okay. Use case classes, it's a function, it's an object, call it as a function for specific need. So we can create abstractions between repositories and UI by creating use case classes. Okay, so let's have a 10 minutes, 5 minutes more discussion. After this, we'll have a break. Okay. What is different from previous version? Our previous version was using Navigation 3. We already discussed it that Navigation 3 is coming. They released version 1, release candidate 1. It means that stable version will be available probably within 3 months. Okay, and by the time when you do your final projects like Capstone project, it will be 2 around. Navigation 2 will never die probably, or will not die before your Capstone for sure, because so much code is written this way. Navigation 3, it's emerging approach of doing navigation in Android system, and it tries to access lacks of Navigation 2. For example, there's no explicit support of in Navigation 2 for logins. So logins is always hack, some kind of hack in Navigation 2. There is no also explicit support for screens showing 2 things at the same time. For example, list and details. So it will be also some kind of hack around of limitation of Navigation 2. Navigation 3 is designed to address these issues. Also, it gives you direct access to navigation stack. A couple lessons ago, I had the introduction to Navigation 3, and I rewrote this example using Navigation 3, this one. And I showed how it looks, how it works. But in this example, I took it back. So I did backport of Navigation 3 to Navigation 2. So this is Navigation 2. What was my motivation? Motivation is that it's hard to find information for navigation 3 right now. This program needs login, although there is some kind of support on login for login system in navigation 3. Information is minimal how to use it, absolutely minimal. So they claim it exists, but explanation, it's literally like half page. It's not extensive documentation in any sense. So I decided, let's don't do it. Okay. It's also related to your assignment. Because assignment 4 has, probably you will use some examples like notes example. You may look up this one as well. Also example form, like to-do list example. All of them, that examples have navigation 2. Having this in navigation 3 and spending tons of time trying to figure out how to do logins in navigation 3 with absolutely minimal explanation from Google, I decided just don't do it. It's not worth it. So I backported it to navigation 2. So although there is a version in navigation 3, it's still around. I didn't delete that branch. It's called multiple quizzes, that is using navigation 3. This one, room only and no Firebase, is using navigation 2. So it is backported in that version. And I stay compatible with to-do list example. To-do list example is using serializable objects as destinations. And so at the previous couple lessons ago, I explained how to use navigation 2 with serializable objects as destinations of the navigation. So it is video recorded and it is posted. It's a couple lessons ago. So I'm using the same approach to stay compatible with to-do list example from Google. Unfortunately, Firebase example, this one, did not use serializable objects as destinations. It was using older approach with strings as destinations. I had to backport. I had to port it further to stay compatible. So it is one of the additional changes I made after that. So it is using serializable objects as destinations compared to original code from Google. That was like probably 3 years old, so it didn't exist. So it is additional port here. So what do I mean? So like 2 more minutes, okay? 3 minutes. And we'll have break. So when we go to UI, where's my UI? Here's the UI. And I have application root screen. You see, I have home, settings, problem list, the allocations or destinations. Home screen, settings screen, problem list screen. But problem list screen, when you go there, you need to know what quiz ID to display. Right? When you go to problem list, you display problems. Okay? I know to display problems, you need to know quiz ID. And if you want to show some problem selected on the list, you need to know problem ID of selected problem. Okay? So destinations in this case could be objects that don't carry data, or data classes, but you create objects before you navigate. So it will be objects, but created from this data class to wrap the data. Okay. For example, you go to settings, and there is navigation, no wrap of the data. It is just route settings to that object. When you go to problem, so it's not enough to say go to problem. You need to say you need to wrap problem ID into it. Otherwise, you don't know where to go, right? So you see, it is calling problem details constructor. So this is problem details. It is destination of the problem with problem ID wrap it in. So this is parameter problem ID, and we call constructor to create an object that is storing problem ID in it. So those are, as you see, it is just lambda functions. Call it here. You see, for example, to problem, and when it is called from inside of the function, as this is lambda function, parameter is problem ID. Okay. Problem details screen, if we go there, it is creating objects. No, it is calling lambda function, and object is created here. This is the constructor problem details. And so this is a current way of doing this with navigation tool. How it relates to code that we will have for today's example with cloud. It is somewhat done with extra layer. She wrapped this thing in more generic object. So I have a list of lambda functions assigned to variables. She wrapped it into these lambda functions. She created just regular functions instead of them, and made it method of some additional object. So that was design decision of original code I kept. So instead of these lambda functions, this way I use also object as extra wrapper, but I still have some functions like that. But they're referring to objects that also have lambda, also have functions. So this is what I kept. I already mentioned that user interface layer is absolutely almost the same, and it also applies to most of view models. Some view models may need login logic, but it is in addition to existing code. It's not instead of code. Okay? So for this reason, maybe looking into depths of UI is exactly the same, except we'll have also logins. So instead of going through this code right now, we can just put it on hold and revisit UI again with Firebase, because it will be the same kind of UI. And data access layer will be different. View models are nearly the same. So let's put this project on hold, and after break, we will start talking, look at example using Firebase and see that code. Okay? So let's have a break, 12:30, let's have a break. And I will stop recording, and we will start using Firebase and start looking at the Firebase at the next lesson. Not lesson, after break, this lesson after break. Today we start with using Firebase at the second half of the lesson. I already discussed Firebase issue, Firebase-related considerations in the first half, but we didn't look at the code and we didn't actually use it anyway. So the code for today's example is related to the code linked to the video. So this is where I got it. This video is
Hey everyone, I'm Rachel from the Firebase team.
Okay, this video is introducing the concept of anonymous authentication on Firebase. A given example is using both anonymous and with login and password. Watch this video when you have time, like tonight, for example. It's very short. And the idea of this video is that it's a feature of Firebase, so users can try to use an app without creating login and password account, because It is annoying to users when they see open an app and the first thing that it tries to do is to force the user to create an account. So in many cases, users just give up on this and just use another app. So in order to avoid this issue, they created concept of anonymous account. So when users open an app, it creates anonymous account. And after this, when user likes this app, a user can create account and link it to anonymous account to keep the data. So this is the idea. And so when we create an app, open an app, it will create anonymous account. And if user wants to use it or shares this data between the devices, because you cannot share data of anonymous user between devices, logically it's impossible. So if user likes it, user will create account and link accounts to anonymous accounts. So all data from anonymous account will go to that account. And by creating account with login and password, unlike anonymous, you can share data between different devices. So this is the logic of this video. Where does it come? Watch it and it will just tell you the same, but in some more enthusiastic way. So example is coming from this. But I already discussed this in the beginning of the class off record that I had to rewrite it. And I had to rewrite it this really a lot. Because example, the way how it is written, it is nearly impossible to explain it in class and extremely even hard to understand. It is quite entangled code. So when we go to this repository, it says Firebase video samples, and it goes to fundamentals, and in Android, and it is this one, anonymous authentication. So I copy-pasted this code, and I revoked this. And I spent more than a day working on it to make it something that I can explain in class. It is the same logical sequence, but done such way I can explain it. Okay? I rewrote logical sequence. I rewrote the code, but it is doing the same thing, but more straightforward way, in my opinion. So this is where it is coming from. It is Google examples, obviously, most likely written by this engineer, developer relations engineer, Marina Kaelha, but I'm not sure who wrote it, but at least she submitted this code. So the code that I will use, it is originally based on that. I'm not taking credit, but it's quite different code. So I definitely copy-pasted most of the layouts. Actually, I copy-pasted all of the screen layouts. I didn't redo screen layouts. So I will close this example because we are not returning to this today. Close, it is from the first half of the lesson. And let's next step. What is the logical step? Okay, let's look at the data first. This is data from the future example related to the data of current from quiz example, right? I had users. In the users, I have quizzes. In users, I have entry per user. So this is user ID, essentially. So this is user ID. And you don't have to store it separately. This is enough. And every user has problem in quizzes. The way how she organized this data is somewhat different. So she didn't create user entry at all. What she did, she created ID entry inside of ID entry inside of node. That is user. There is a node ID and there is also user ID inside of entry. This is what she did. So she is selecting a user by not going through that because she doesn't have user entry. She goes directly into nodes and filters by user ID mentioned in the node. So this is the logic of her approach, and it does work because she doesn't have a as complicated structure as here. So I will open this before running code because we have to link it to Firebase. I will open already link it to the Firebase because I already ran it before. Okay. So I'm going back to Firebase and I'm selecting different account, different project, and I call it Node F2025. Okay. I ran this before, and in authentication, this is linked account, this is not linked account. So this is how looks anonymous account before it is linked to created account. Okay? This was anonymous, and I linked this to account when it was created. Okay? So I click it to authentication, and this is I see. There are multiple ways to authenticate when we use Firebase, and one of these ways do not authenticate, and it will create anonymous user. The problem with anonymous user, you cannot use it across different devices. And when you uninstall app, it's gone because there is no. It stays linked as long as you can close up and open up. It will be the same anonymous, but when you uninstall, it won't. And this is linked. If we go to, say, 1 second, sign-in methods, add new provider, you will see that it is only 2 out of many options, right? Anonymous, email and password, that is what's added, but we can also log in with Google account, some Microsoft ID, Facebook, Apple, Twitter, whatever, right? Okay. There are multiple options, but it's not coming automatically. It will be automatically only on Firebase side, but you need to add code into your program in order to make it work. So it does help, definitely, because on the server side it is supported, but you need to add code into your program to select how you need to log in and add additional code in order to make it work, besides selection on the login page. A login page is not provided, you have to write it or copy-paste it. In older Android UI, they could provide some login page, but it was extremely inconvenient to use, so it was even, at that time, it was bad anyway. So this is options. When you create new project, you will see that it will explain you. It will be video with explanation, so you will see. Currently, it is using 2 options, and you saw those. I will go to Firebase. It is a store. There are multiple ways to store data, and this is storing in the tree. And this is what she did. She didn't create an entry for users. She is creating collection of nodes right away. So it's not users, it's nodes. But how will she distinguish users, nodes? She's doing the selection by user ID. A node ID is not stored as a separate field, and you don't have to because it will be just duplication of this one. This is a node ID. You don't have to store it in the field unless you really want it for some reason. Okay. So this is user ID, and this is node ID, and this is user ID. So a data structure is quite simple. It has a text and user ID to select it from the cloud because there is no other ways to distinguish between nodes added by different users. So it is absolutely brute force, and it works only for this simple case scenario. Now, in order to make it accessible only by specific user, it is a good idea to add security rules to the database. Our program will work even without these rules because it will be just insecure. It will work, but it will be insecure. So eventually, if your application will have some key, and if this key is somehow made available, either by stealing your code or somehow hacking is up, the person who has the key will have access to all the data of your app. It's not per user, it will be just all, unless you specify security rules. So if the security rules are specified, even key is stolen, the person will not have access to user data unless the person is logged in. So this is the meaning of security rules. Without rules, if key is stolen, a user, the one who stole the key, has the key, will have access to all the data, even without specific login. Okay. Rules makes it impossible to access the data without logging in, if rules are correct. This example didn't come with rules, and I asked coding engine to make it. So I didn't make this code. I asked Android Studio artificial intelligence, like code assist, to create security rules for this particular project. So apparently it can do it, and if we look at that, it appears correct. So what do we see? We have read-write if request authorization is not null. Request authorization means you logged in. Is not null. Then ID, it is user ID. Auth ID, it's user ID. Is matching in nodes, node ID, and this is user ID. Okay. Because it goes as nodes, then you saw the step, another step, it is node ID, and data, it is what is data stored, user ID. So what does it say? If a user ID in the request authorization, in the authorization, is matching ID inside of the node, it will allow read and write, essentially into the node, and allow create if authorization is not null, and what we are creating, user ID, in the data is matching ID in the request. So this rule will enforce that the person logs in and ID is matching ID of the data which is stored. So when we develop an application, we can make rules. We can make rules that allow everything while we develop. This makes it simple, because when something doesn't work, we need to figure out why, right? And if at the time of the development we select rules that allow everything, we deal only with our own code. We don't have to deal with the issue of broken rules, right, here, if rules somehow don't match your code. So what is the best approach? In the rules, allow everything first, makes your code work. After this, have rules that are limiting access scenario only for the user. So this is the approach. Okay? First, make rules extremely permissible, anything for anyone. Make your code work, and after this, enforce rules, so there's no way for other users to access data of specific user. Okay? code did not come with rules. I added this on top, and I didn't write this. I asked AI engine code assist from Android Studio to create rules for this project. And I copy-pasted it here, and I said active whatever load, and it did. Okay. When we'll create project from scratch today, you don't have to put it. We can make it testing case. I'll allow everything. So you'll see. Where to get this file? This file in the project itself, I added this to the project, so you can copy-paste it from the project. It is not used by Android application. It is just stored there for convenience, so you can copy-paste it into Firebase. Okay. So this is the idea. So this is how data looks like. This is how users looks like, and how security rules looks like. Okay. And now let's clone this. Let's clone this project. It was not original code. I already discussed it. I rewrote it, but I tried to keep it consistent with the original. But I rewrote structure of it. So let's clone it. It is this one. It goes to, when we click on it, it goes to GitHub repository in my folder, like this, my account. The same clone. And open Android Studio and clone it there. Clone repository, Command V, clone. Trust project. Do not run it, try it run. Don't, because it won't compile. It needs a file from Firebase to compile. It will synchronize, but it will not compile. All right. So do not hit it. Click this and just synchronize it. So let's see what we have in the code. It is. I tried to stay with the same structure because video is referring to that structure. So when you watch the video, you can kind of make connections. Okay. So there is a model here. This example is using service terminology, and Google design guide doesn't mention service because the word service is creating kind of collision in naming because we say service, but in Android sense service, it is something running in the background. In this case, it means just some business logic. Okay. So it is not the service that is running in the background, it is just some business logic. So this is why in my programs I call it repository and according to Google Guide. Okay. This is again against Google Guide. Okay. So what is in this service? Account service and storage service. Okay. Storage so it is interface. So she defined it that we want to have a flow. If we have a flow of a list of nodes, we can display it. By the way, what is node? A node is defined in here, right? So there, okay. So node contains string, text, and user ID. This is what is stored. And there is a convenience method get text. Get title. Get title is just shorter version of the text to display it at the top of the node. Okay. A user. She is not storing user, but it is convenience class to create user ID. She also has a storage user account service. And this is also called from UI. To link account, you see update display name, create anonymous account, and so on. So interface is just exposing code below to UI. So it is defining what UI needs. Actual code is hidden in this folder, implementation. That has implementation of service. We will look at that later. And implementation of account service authentication service. In storage service, and this is about storing nodes. We will look at this later. But first, let's have a bigger picture, okay? As you see, we have interfaces and implementation. Nodes, node class with some helper function, extension function, and user class to deal with the data. So technically it's domain, but there's no separation in this case, simple case, so it's all in model. In UI, there are screens, and each screen has own package. I rearranged it in her original code. Screens were outside of UI. What's the reason? I have no idea. Okay, screens technically it's UI, so I put it in UI. Okay, you see underscores in package name. It's again official guide, against official guide. So official naming convention is not to use underscores in package name. I kept it the same. I didn't touch it for easier code matching, older version and this version. So just to stay consistent. Okay. But you have in screens, you have a package per screen. So we have a screen for account center, and it comes with screen, view model, and this is just cards used in screen, so she decided, let's take it out. We have node details, we have node list, sign in screen, sign out screen, and splash screen that use it in the beginning. So when program starts, it shows some loading screen for brief time. And at the time of showing brief screen, this loading screen, our program is trying to log in anonymously. So this is the logic of it. During splash screen, it is trying to log in anonymously because it cannot do anything unless it logins. So it's doing anonymously. User gets experience with this program. If user wants to log into real account, link to create a real account and link the data, user has such options from settings. Okay. Right. So splash screen is used for the purpose of logging in. So it's a hack, essentially. Is there a better way? Probably. But this is what she does. Okay. So what to do next? Nodes heals application. I'm staying with same convention, except I didn't rename main activity. I just keep it a main activity. We have a root screen, and root screen is used in main activity. You see this nodes app is called use root screen. So she's following what is Google is doing. They create something called app and something called healed app. Something called app, it's root screen, and something called healed app, it is for dependency injection. So it is essentially mostly empty class. In some cases, it is completely empty, like here. If it contains some not trivial logic, it can have something inside. So it is for healed dependency injection. So this is why I introduced this in the course very early, because for all Firebase examples comes with healed dependency injection, including this simple one. So let's look at this root screen, which is called node app. I rewrote navigation logic, so it's not original, but I still have the same kind of destinations. Originally, destinations were strings, but I created this as objects. and these objects are inherited from routes. So it is extra step of complexity compared to my program. And this is because I have to stay consistent with some code I didn't want to change. Okay. So these objects are inheriting from routes, and it is still at interface. It means implementations can be defined only in the given file. So we have route to splash screen, route to notes list, sign in, sign up, and account center, and to details. And route to details contains specific ID because it will be different for different node to be displayed. So this is a change from original code. And this is routes. Navigation is set up in nodes app, but it is done not typical way, and this is where it is different from my code. So instead of creating nav, what's this code? Navigator, what's this code? Sorry. Nav controller, sorry, nav control object, she created own navigator, which is not really navigator. It's a wrapper around existing navigator to help you to say have convenience functions. Okay, so instead of calling remember nav controller, she is calling remember upstate, and her upstate is actually navigator wrapping original one. So it's a class that is wrapping navigator. So she has helper functions in it. I didn't remove this one, although it is annoying to me. So let's look into that piece. Nodes app state. So when we create it, we give nav controller to it, and it will be stored inside. So as we see, it is just a class that is calling, that has helper functions that are calling nav controller functions. She decided, okay, this is useful things, so I can provide extra parameters, so I don't have to specify these parameters each time. So what does she do? So pop-up back stack, it is just duplication, so it is popping stack. This has additional parameter, launch single top. What it means? When we call navigate to particular destination, it will add item to navigation stack, and it will show it. This would be kind of not desirable behavior if there is a button on the same screen that is navigating to itself. For example, we have a screen with toolbar with, that shows 3 locations, like settings, home, and something. Okay. For example, our app has a toolbar at the bottom that has home button and settings button. When you go to home button, home place, you still may have the same toolbar. You don't have to, but you may. Okay? It's your design decision. So if you on home screen and you have the same toolbar at the bottom that has home button on it, user may click on it, right? Unless you make it disable. If you make it disable, your code will not allow to click it. But if you do not disable it, user click on it, and if you navigate normal way, it will create duplicate entry into navigation stack. So you went from home screen to home screen to home screen if user clicks it 3 times, right? So it will create duplicate entry on navigation stack for specific screen. So this option, launch single top, makes sure that when you navigate to it, it will remove previous entry. So it will not create duplications on navigation stack. So it's useful feature only if you need it, obviously. Not in this program. She probably copy-pasted it from somewhere. So it is useful if you kind of go to the same place because you don't want to disable this button. So you don't duplicate locations on navigation stack. So back button behaves sensibly. Because if you create 3 home locations in the navigation stack, back will go from home to home and to home again if you have several. So it is to avoid this situation. Is it necessary here? No. OK. So what is this one? Navigate to route, launch single top the same, and also remove some entries before. So you navigate and you clear something up to particular point. It may be useful, and it is actually used in this app. When you go to this screen, but you want to erase previous history to some point. For example, you go to account screen, then you go to login screen, and you log it in, so you want to remove account from the history or something like that. Or you remove login from the history. This would be logical. On the login screen, you try to log in. It will take you elsewhere, but you don't want to have login screen in the history because you already log in and back button. Why would you go there? So this is how she's using it. Erase some history in the navigation when you navigate somewhere at the same time. So as you see, it is calling functions of nav controller, launch single top so to avoid duplication, and pop up to this. You provide another destination up to which one to erase. So it is two parameters, 2 routes, up to which to erase. She is erasing login screen when you log it in, go somewhere, so login screen goes out of history. Clear and navigate, this one. What does it do? It is navigation to route, so you see route. Launch single top, again, she's avoiding duplication of particular place where it goes. Maybe not necessary, but depending on programming logic. And this one, erase everything to ID 0. Erase everything. Why it is useful here? Because let's try a scenario. A user, logged in user or anonymous user, created some data, then linked account probably. Now you still have some data on the screen in the history. After this, you logs out. Okay, so user logs out. After you log out, you cannot access the data because you're already out. But you still have some screens in the history that would want to show data, but the data is not accessible. So when you click back button, it will take you to the screen, if it is in the history, that wants to show data, but data is not around. You cannot, data is there, but you cannot access it because you logged out. Okay? Please follow this logic. This is important for navigation, to this hack in navigation. Okay? And again, navigation tool does not have direct access to login. So it's always some hack, unfortunately. And this is how it is done here. So imagine that you're a user, you logged in, and you used this program, so you created some history in navigation stack. Okay? You log out, all right? So those history screens in your history could show the data, but after you log it out, they cannot. So there's no point of keeping them in history because they cannot show the data after you log it out. And even worse, if user clicks back button in Android, it will take to the screen that actually either empty or causing crash because it cannot access the data. So for this reason, in this hack, after logout, it is clearing completely history up to 0. So this code is used, this particular call is used to clear out history when we log out. Okay. So this is the meaning of calling pop-up to 0 when you navigate. So log out, it clears history, and it navigates to original destination without history.
So it will still show the screen, but the data will not be accessed, the previous screen.
Yes, it will try to show, and it could, depending on your code. If your code is nice, it will be empty screen or empty place for the data. If code is not nice, it will cause crash, depending how you wrote it.
So this is using navigation 2 or navigation 3?
This is navigation 2. I'm not touching navigation 3 with the long stick anymore. Okay. Because the explanation how to do logins in navigation 3, they advertise it that there is a better support for it. But explanations like literally half page or 1 page of code and some small comments around it. There is no documentation, 0 documentation about it. So I'm not touching this with a long stick because problem itself is complicated, but explanation itself, it's like 1 page of code. It's not even up, it's like a snippet, right? With some comments next to it. In GitHub repository, not even on website of developer.com. So I look at this and I decide, okay, this is hopeless. Because it will probably take days to figure it out. And second, if explanation is like this, few people use it. And if few people use it, it's probably buggy. So I decided, okay, going back to navigation 2 for now. Okay. So it is navigation 2. And in navigation 2, there is no direct support, so it's always a hack. So this is how it's done here. So this is what is here. Let's go back to the two node apps. So we have destinations, node list, node details, and so on. Node details, sign in screen, sign up screen, and splash screen that is doing login. When application starts, it's splashing some empty screen with loading animation, and it's doing login at that time. So a splash screen, it is start destination. Okay. It's not original code, I redid it. Original code uses strings in navigation. I'm using serializable objects because it's new approach. She just didn't change this code. In her new version of to-do list, let's call it, make it so, she switched it from string navigation to serializable objects, but she didn't change it here yet. So I did it. Okay. And you see, like, for example, to account center, I renamed these things to make it more explicit. To account center, when user clicks account, some button, go to account center, it's calling navigate, and this is app state function that is calling nav controller navigate. Okay. When we go to, when it is to splash screen, it is invoked after logout. We clear and navigate to splash screen to do relogin as anonymous. Because splash screen tries to relogin either for the stored user, or if it is logout, it's not stored data, it will try to relogin. It will try to relogin as anonymous. And it will create new anonymous account each time, which is kind of nasty, but this is the way how it works. After you log out, it will, this program will try to create new anonymous account. Because anonymous is not stored, so it will be new account, anonymous account. So this is how I ended up with multiple anonymous accounts on the file store for this project, because I was logging in, logging out, logging in, logging out, and it was creating anonymous account each time after I logged out. We will dive into code later, but before we dive into code, let's make it work first. So next important thing, how to make it work. This code is not enough to make it work because it needs to connect to Firebase in order to make it work. In order to connect to Firebase, we need to create project on Firebase. In order to create, so first step is to go to Firebase and create a project. So if you click this, it will not compile. So let's make it work. So Firebase address is firebase.com, I believe. Let's try. For Firebase, no, so firebase.google.com, sorry, firebase.google.com. It takes you to this screen. Are you with me? Firebase.google.com. Next, get started. If you previously used it, you will have a list of the accounts, or it may ask you to log in. If it asks you to, you will not have this list if you didn't use it. It may ask you to log in. If it asks you to log in, use your Google account, like Gmail account. It will work. This is what I do. When you log in after using your Gmail account, you will have an option to add new account. If you don't have a list, it will look differently, maybe in the center of the screen, but it will be some option to create new Firebase project. This is not account, new Firebase project, sorry. Okay, you log it in. After this, it will be option to create Firebase project. It may look differently because you will not have this list, but it will be the button. Okay, this step. There is some artificial intelligence help to create project, and it's not helping with this particular scenario. It is for web projects and blah, blah, blah. Okay? I tried, didn't help. So I'm going here. Create new project. You need to give a project name. So and it will generate project, and it will generate web address for that. It will generate ID, use it in the web address of it. Okay, for example, say node, and you see it is creating some unique piece next to it. Okay, since we are doing this at the same time, we may end up with exactly the same thing, and if it happens, it will say it's already done, so you have to choose new one. Okay, right? So I will do in class, but you don't type in class, okay? You type your name in class or something. Okay? You see, note in class didn't exist, so it used it. Okay? If you type note in class, it will collide it with mine, because this is supposed to be unique across everywhere. Okay? So don't type note in class, you type your name or something. Okay? Are you with me? So you shouldn't have this one. Next, you click continue. As you keep this default, it says it will have artificial intelligence assistant, which is good. Some automatically included features, we will talk about it later. Keep it on. It will have support to collect analytics. It is if your program is collecting analytics. It has also support to collect data about crashes of your app, which is also good. But you need to add it to your program. It will not do it automatically. Okay? So skip it by default and click next. It may ask you to select which of the accounts you want to do for analytics, so select default one. Okay. I see it says enable analytics, and next step it will take you option which account you want to use for analytics, say default one. Okay. You can add code to your program to collect usage data. In order to probably improve it later. In the quizzes, I would probably collect how many times people like generate quizzes, maybe, right? Or quiz data, like how many right answers, wrong answers per user, or something like that. Just for curiosity, whatever. So you have such option to collect data. It is definitely extra code in your code, but keep it default. But it will not work by immediately. You have to add code to your program. All right. And wait. Surprisingly, we have very little time left and very little thing to do, actually. Because we will dive into actual code next time, but we will make it work, okay? So your Firebase project is ready. Let's click Continue. It has artificial intelligence engine that is helpful in answering questions. Look at that when you have time. But now let's make it work first. Right? In order to make it work, I need to add option to create anonymous account and email password accounts. So this is what I do. Build authentication. Watch this video later. It will be cool. Okay? I will close this one. How to close it?
Top right.
This, okay. Okay? So watch this video later. Okay? I watched this before, so I know. Get started. In the get started, let's add anonymous. Enable. Save. Because this program, you can add only what is supported in your code. Adding this here does not make it magical in your program. Okay, you have to match the code. So the code needs this one, so I have to match it. Anonymous, okay. Then add new provider and email password. Select this one, but do not select this one. Passwordless. It is not, code is not doing it. I select this one. Okay, and I click Save. So email, password, and anonymous. Both are enabled. So, and again, it is for particular needs of the code. Okay. Next, build, and there are tons of different options to do databases, but two ways to do it directly on the Firebase, and there are options to create a SQL database on Google Cloud and link it to it. I didn't do it, but it's possible. So, for data, there are two databases directly on Firebase Cloud. And one is newer, one is older. And this is older, real-time database. They have different APIs. And if you write new application, use new one. This one. Firestore. Okay. Firestore. And use older one only if you need changing code of existing code. All right. Next, you click Create database. So it is using Firestore. Standard edition, this is probably requires payment, so using standard edition. This is, by the way, it's new. It didn't exist half a year ago. Okay. So standard edition. Next. As keep it default, this is just closest. And click Next. All right? Now, starting production code, you will have to edit. And this is test mode. Test mode lets you to do everything up to this date. If you don't like it, change the date and press change the date later. You can do it. So start it with this one, and you already have a new, you already know routes, rules. You can copy paste it and redo it with rules. Okay? Next, click Create. Are you with me?
Yes.
Click Create. Okay, now it's done. Rules says allow read write up to this date. Okay, if you're already out of, change another date. Okay, I already have rules that you can copy paste. It is generated, you know, right? It is stored in the project itself. I will show where it is. You can copy paste it here, but you need to copy paste it here. Storing rules in the project doesn't do anything. I just decided to keep it together with Android files. Okay, so you will need to copy paste it, and after you do it, it will be button for it. Okay. I think it is already activated, but let's try to do it. Open and shall read. No, it is done. It is already activated. Perhaps when you edit it, it will be another button. We will see. Next, you need to link it to your Android app, because it's not linked. It doesn't know, your Android code does not know address of the data. So it needs to know address of the data. It needs to know key to connect the data. So you need to download the file into Android project. So where to go? Click project overview. Not, sorry. Click on this thing next to project overview. Project settings, I believe. Yes. Next, this project settings, or close to project overview, project settings, and click on Android. And now, package of Android. It has to match package here. And I rename it package, so it's not original. I invested so much time, so I decided to rename it. But yes, but I refer to her in Android, in Google, on GitHub. So I didn't steal credit, but I renamed it. Okay. Okay, so I notes. It is notes. Okay. No, it is mass trainer. It's wrong one. Where do I have it? I already closed it. I do have a reference in the code itself on GitHub that it's not mine, it's originally from her. Okay, so here it is. We type it per package. Nickname is optional if you want. Okay, register up. Okay. Now you need to download the file. Okay. It will go to your downloads folder by default. Click on downloads file. It's Google services in my downloads folder. You see Google services.json, Google services.json. So I need to go to my downloads folder and find this file, Google services.json. Here it is. Where to put it? There is one right place to put it. So go to Android, select project files. Okay. It has to be in project files app folder. If it is Android app folder, you will not see this. Okay. So when you drop it. So you drop it into app folder project files. Are you with me?
Straight in the build folder?
Not in build. App folder of project files. Okay, it says refactor, в смысле copy. Okay. If it says Git, if Git says edit to Git, you say no. No, it doesn't. Because I added to Git ignore myself. You see, now it's not asking because I added. It has to be ignored because when I put it on GitHub, it has key to my account. Okay? Not account, key to the project in my account. Not my account, key to the project in my account. Okay. So what does it have? You see, it is name of it. It is part of the address. Some keys to it. So it's not very much, but what is important is this thing, right? So this is, and now after this, just switch to Android. And Android is hiding it, so you cannot see it. You see, in app, there is no such file. Okay? But it exists. Okay? So let's try to build it. It should be enough.
Do we need to synchronize or no?
And you need to see, yeah, you need to synchronize. So let's try to synchronize. And now let's try to build it. It should be enough. If I remember correctly, it should be enough. Okay. All right. So it's building, it should start. We're about to finish, and we're about to finish this, okay? So you see this is flash screen. It tries to create account during flash screen, okay? And now let's go to your project here or on Firebase. You can close it if this is done. After you got the file, you can close it. And now you go to authentication users. You see it's created anonymous user. During this flash screen, it was creating anonymous user. You see it. It is still anonymous because you didn't log in. Okay. Now let's try to add. Let's go to database. So I go to Firestore database, and currently it's empty because I didn't add anything. Okay. So let's add node. So there's plus here button to add node. I click on it. It created node, but it's not saved. This is save button. So you can edit node, say my node 1. Okay. And now you click save, and it's supposed to show up, but first one somehow needs to refresh. This is strange, but first one has to refresh. Okay. After this, it will do it automatically. But first data has to refresh. And you see it shows my node 1. Okay. Next, this you can edit it. If you click on this node, you can edit it and click save again. So my node 1 edited. Okay, click save, and now you see it is automatically refreshing. Node 1 edited. Okay, let's add some node 2. My node 2. Okay, save. And you see it created new entry. You click on this, my node 2. And this is user ID. She's storing user ID here.
So if we added this node here, it was added over there as well?
Not guaranteed. It depends on the code. Okay, it depends on the code. Okay, it depends how she coded. Okay, I don't remember. Okay, you can try. Okay.
In the root database, if we delete it in the database, it deletes over there.
You can try. It really depends how code is written. We can create flows, and if we create flows, it will be the case. We can create flows to database, and if it is done with flow, it will be this way. If it's not done with the flow, it won't. It depends on the code of the project. We can try. Okay, let's try. So node 2, let's try to edit it. Node 2 edited. Okay. Yeah, so it's done with flow. So it's done with flow in this case. Okay. Let's try to do this one. Okay. Let's try to do. I went to details screen. So this is details screen. So let's try this one. Edit it. Second time. Okay. Edit it second time. Update. No, this is not done with flow. So in the list, list was done with flow, so list is updating, but not details. You see? This is what I say. It depends on the code. Okay? She did a list with flow, but details is not with flow. So details is not updating. But if you go to a list, it will be in the list. So how to go to the list? I wonder, where's the list? Okay, maybe. But if I save it, it will replace this one. Right? So I cannot go to the list. So it is kind of far not perfect, okay? But if I save it, it will replace this one, right? Yeah, so. But what we saw, details is not done with flow, obviously. Otherwise, it will replace in the details as well. So time. Time for today. We're finishing. See you on Thursday, right? And we'll continue playing with that, and I'll explain code, hopefully. Okay.